Hello and welcome into my latest live stream broadcast. My name is Kerry Holzman, and today we're on day 8 of computer builds and upgrades. There's probably going to be 30 days of this going the way we've been going. And let's see if I can step out here. And first day with the new microphone, guys. How does this new mic sound? Is it better? Is it the same? Is it worse? I haven't done any tuning on the microphone or adjusted any of the settings. I've literally taken it out of the package, threw some batteries in it, get it mounted to the camera, get it all wired up, and this is our baseline. This is where we're starting, and I hope just out of the box it's good to go. I can tell you right now, I like the microphone a lot better. So if it's too loud, let me know. I can adjust the loudness on it, but hopefully it sounds good. Yeah, so some people say they hear a boom echo. I don't know what that means. We should be, let me just double check the camera to make sure, because the camera allows. So this is the in-camera audio. Does that sound better or worse to you? You might need a little reference point, something to compare it with. So getting a little feedback on something, that's unusual. Anyway, so this is the in-camera microphone I'm using right now, and there should be a lot of echo to it right now. It should be bouncing off of the tile floor, and yeah. So maybe what I need to do, let me plug in. Okay, so now I'm back on the mic pack. So let me ask you again, how does the microphone sound? I think there are some settings. There's a low hum. Everybody keeps saying there's a low hum. Every time I go, and I've used I've used 3 different microphones, and everybody says there's always a low hum in all of them. So I don't quite know what to do about that. But let me see if I can adjust the sensitivity down. Let's take the sensitivity. Okay, now the sensitivity is turned down to 42 dB. Does that sound better or worse? Better or worse? Much better? Perfect? No hum? That's good. Mic is louder and cleaner. Granddad 47's contributed 2 pounds. Says, carry on, Carrie. Hey, thank you, Granddad. Hum is gone. Much better, no hum, perfect. Should I leave it alone or should I keep playing? Thank you guys for the feedback. We're all good? Yeah, I'm thinking the humming was the air conditioner. Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's slightly quiet. Not on my end. I'm almost peaking. Don't know if I should be turning the volume up. I am literally right at the verge of peaking. It can go, I can either turn the sensitivity back down, or I don't know if there's a gain control on here. I think that's just, let's take a look. I've never been in here before. There's a tuning, mute, cable emulation. I don't know what that means. Pilot tone, I don't care. Software revision. No, all that seems fine. Sensitivity, frequency preset, that's fine. Name of the unit, let's go under advanced. No, that's where I was. So it's not under advanced. I don't see anything for gain. There's no gain on here. I can, leave it alone? Okay, I'll leave it alone. It's hard to know who knows what they're talking about in the chat and who doesn't know what they're talking about. So we have people saying the audio's too low when they could clearly turn their volume up. But if they turn their volume up when they go hit another video where the volume's really loud, then, you know, obviously I have no control over the volume of other YouTube videos. So seems like the consensus is good. So I don't really want to change too much on this because it'll be hard to, well, I mean, there is a full reset I could do, but we'll just leave it at that for right now, and we can get on with the show. How about that? So thank you guys. I appreciate your feedback. I can always test it myself, but what it sounds like to me, what it sounds like to you may be two entirely different things. So ideally, we're good to go. What you have to understand, guys, is when you crank the volume, when I crank the gain up, then you start hearing the hum. If I crank the gain down, then you say the volume's too low. You can't have it both ways. Now, if I had a more elaborate setup with a mixer and a noise gate, I could fine tune all of that, but that requires a lot more equipment. It basically means I've got to have like a portable stand I've got to move in here with other things that have to be plugged in. You know, mixer's about this big and the noise gate is this big, and it all has to be tuned and adjusted specifically to the microphone, to the person talking, and to the environment. And the minute you change the environment or change the person talking, it all has to be retuned again. So Nick says, I'm at 50% volume and you sound nice and clear and loud enough. Great, great, great. So again, thank you guys. Thanks for helping me get that tuned. Now, I do have work to do today. I am still really upset about what happened yesterday. Hold on a second. And that's with regard to the client who had nothing to complain about, who's never had any data loss, who's never had a price increase in 10 years, who's never had any downtime, and isn't happy, thinks they can get the service cheaper. I don't know if you can quite understand the betrayal I feel, because I had to make quite a lot of sacrifices over the last 10 years to not raise their rates, even though the cost of things have gone up significantly in 10 years. I mean, if you were making the same amount today that you were making 10 years ago, would you stay at the job? The lack of appreciation is so offensive to me. It reminds me of, if you've ever seen the show Shark Tank, there's a guy they call Mr. Wonderful, Kevin. And when somebody won't negotiate with him, he just says, you're dead to me. He doesn't try to find a middle ground. It's just, this is how it's gonna be, and if you don't like it, you're dead to me. Just don't even talk to me again, don't ever see me again. I'm too busy, you're wasting my time. And yet, there are nicer sharks on Shark Tank, but that doesn't mean one is wealthier than the other over how nice they are. So my kindness, and I think this is a problem in IT for self-employed technicians, is we're too nice to be really good business people. And there's no amount of niceness that equates to business. Business is business, and when you add the human factor into it to do somebody a favor, you should always expect nothing in return. That has been my experience, with a few exceptions. And I am very remorseful that I believed that we had a good thing going, that I gave this customer no reason to ever cancel with me, and they did it anyway. Now the customer wants to call me when they need me, and the more I think about it, I believe I'm just not going to take the customer's calls anymore. All the customer's phone numbers and anybody related to that customer are all on my block list, so they will go directly to my voicemail. They will no longer interrupt my day with whatever emergency they have. And even though I could charge him top dollar to go hourly, I know this customer, by the time they call me with a problem, it'll be so compounded and bad, it will completely disrupt my normal workflow. As a businessman, I need a regular income. I can't sit and wait for a problem to occur to decide whether or not I'm going to eat that week. It's just not a good business model. It was fine when I was first starting out in my 20s. and you take whatever work you can get, but you're working a lot harder and you get no appreciation. So I think, and I could change my mind, but the way I feel right now is, I told the customer, hey, if you ever need me, give me a call. It's fine. And my thought was maybe this won't work out and they'll hire me back. Well, this has already happened before. So now this is the second time he's betrayed me, and no notice. They didn't give me notice before. We had a good 10-year run this time, which was longer than the run last time. But I don't think I want to go through this anymore. My debate is, do I tell the customer I don't want to do this anymore, or do I just ignore the customer? And my feeling right now is to just act like Kevin on Shark Tank and just go, you know what, you're dead to me. Just ignore him. He's shown a profound lack of appreciation for what I do, and I just don't want to be a part of the mess that ends up being created. They're all going to have to be upgraded to Windows 10, and when they get upgraded to Windows 10, they're going to have to be trained in how to use it. They're going to have to go through and replace some software. They don't like spending money. They're multi-millionaires, and they don't like spending money. They went from Office 2003 to Office 2016, and my big regret is I paid to upgrade them to Office 2016, and I gave them my cost. My cost is $190 for Office 2016 Professional. We did that to 5 of the 6 computers they have, and I billed them for it. And when I talked to him on the phone, I said, that's fine that you want to cancel, but you still owe me for the Office 2016 that I installed. And I never do that. I never, ever pay for something and then sell it to the customer. I always let the customer pay for it directly. I'm kicking myself in the butt. I thought, this guy's been with me 10 years. It's a safe thing. It's never safe. It is never safe to do. Now I got to hope he pays me. If he doesn't pay me, I'm going to have to write that off as a huge loss. So not only am I losing his income, he might just have cost me, $1,200. So, because I have all the licenses paid for 6 machines. I got it installed on 5. And I'm very, if you can't tell, I feel like I've been stabbed in the back by somebody I trusted. He couldn't ask for better service. He couldn't ask for better price. He couldn't ask for better computers running any faster, a faster network, a more reliable. It's all 100%. It has always been 100% since I started with him in the summer of 2008. So there's no reasoning behind it. It's completely random. He's not having any financial difficulties. He just bought another house. He just sold his previous house. And these aren't houses, these are mansions. So him complaining about $12,000 a year paid out in quarterly installments to take care of everything, the office, the home, antivirus, backups, it's all part of that. It's all rolled in. It's a hell of a deal, folks. It's a hell of a deal. So it's not the financial hit, it's the emotional hit. I never saw it coming. I'm upset. So I need to put my time and attention into the customers that appreciate and see the value of what I offer. And then I have to decide if I want to replace this customer with another MSP where I do managed service providing, or if I use this as an opportunity to spend more time making YouTube videos. What I'm concerned about is if something happens with YouTube and I've got too many eggs in that YouTube basket, I'm going to be in a world of hurt financially. But everything is growing on YouTube and it's expanding, but I have no control if YouTube decides to ban me or if YouTube decides that they don't want to do monetization anymore. It's out of my control. So there's a question of how many clients can I take on and still have time for YouTube and still have time for the clients? Or do I focus more time and attention on one thing or the other? It's a tough call. And I'm upset that this customer forced me into that. But what I have found in the past is when you take these blows that are unexpected and they feel like, oh my gosh, it's a kind of a shock to the system. In almost every case, whether you can relate to it personally, it almost always works out for the best. Some opportunity, suddenly appears that pays you better, where you're appreciated, and where the work is more not gratifying, but where the customer and the work both tie in together to be just very symbiotic. And so I'm I'm a little worried because I don't have anything in the pipeline, but it just takes the phone can ring at any minute, and I could replace them with somebody that pays me twice as much for half as much work, right? To maintain that same accountability and responsibility. And it sucks to be in the moment. I'll look back on this and I won't think of it as any big deal. But right now, it's just really, really betrayal to be treated that way. For somebody to wait until the day the invoice was due and then just slap me with this, hey, we're not getting, no notice, no courtesy. After 10 years, always taking care of them. I never nickel and dimed them. They needed a cable run when they moved offices, and their IT guy didn't do it when he said he would, the guy that ran the building. So I did it for him because it needed to be done. I didn't bill him for it. When they moved offices the first time, I didn't bill them for all the additional configuration work. When they moved offices the second time, initially they wanted me to move all their computers. I said, I don't move computers. You pay your moving company to move your desks and everything else. Let them move the computers. Once you get everything moved, I'll plug it all in for you. I didn't charge for that. My maintenance contract was strictly for maintenance and backups. That doesn't include upgrades. It doesn't include moves or changes, additions or deletions. It doesn't include any of that. It's a standard contract. But I never nickel and dimed him, and I made him aware of that. And it just went in one ear and out the other. So what would you do if you were me? Would you still continue to take the customer's calls and wait for the customer to have such a bad situation they have to call you because they don't want to spend any money? But they do pay their bills. When I send them an invoice, they've always paid, sometimes late, but they do pay. Or would you rather try and focus on more sustainable work that you can rely on rather than wondering, are they going to call me today? And what if you're busy and they call you and they need you right away? What do you say to them? What if I'm busy for the next week or two and they need something done right away? What do I say? I can't get to you for 2 weeks? Or do I prioritize them and just bill them a lot more? My personal thought is I should just not work for them anymore. I don't think that's the kind of client I want. I think they need somebody who's young and just starting out, who's willing to take very little pay and do a lot of work. And coming from people as wealthy as they are, knowing what they charge, it's so offensive to me. It's okay for them to charge other people ridiculous amounts of money, but they want to pay ridiculously low amounts of money and work you to the bone. It just feels very hypocritical, and it feels like they don't care about me. They sit there and tell me they like me, there's nothing to complain about, and yet they still stab me in the back. Over what? I can't. If I screwed up, I can take that. That's why I'm self-employed. The whole reason I don't want to work for somebody else is I got tired of being laid off because, hey, the company's made some bad financial decisions, and in order for us to maintain our profit margins, we're letting go 100 employees and you're one of them. You didn't do anything wrong. You're a good, solid employee. You're honest. You show up on time. You do good work. Sorry. And being self-employed, the idea behind that is I have control of that. Now, if I screw up, then I deserve to be fired. But here, the same exact thing happened being self-employed. I did nothing. I can't emphasize that enough. If anything, I did the job too well. They should have received a 10% rate increase every year, and they should have been charged for everything outside of the contract. But there I was being a nice guy, and that makes me, and I want to be very clear on this, folks. Well, I might be a great technician, even that's debatable, but if I, just give me that for a minute, okay? Just humor me. I will openly admit I am a terrible, terrible businessman. I allowed this to happen because I was too nice, and businesses don't pay you to care. That's the reality. When you care, that's how you get hurt. You are not paid to care. Bottom line. When a surgeon's going to operate on you, you very rarely meet the surgeon. You might meet him briefly. They don't want to get to know you. They don't want to get attached to you. They're there to do a job. You're just another human body. They go through, do the best job they can, and move on to the next one. This is really, really disturbing to me. If you can't tell, it hurts. It really hurts. And again, it's not the money. It's a little bit of the money, but it's mostly the betrayal. I just don't know what else I could have done. I am absolutely beside myself because I'm a guy who fixes things, right? So in my mind, I'm thinking, what went wrong? How could I have prevented it? There's absolutely, I can't come up with any solution and anything I could have done to fix it. It's just an impossible customer with unreasonable expectations and no appreciation for the fact that they haven't had any losses. I think they're going to need to suffer some losses at great expense before they fully understand or appreciate what I've done, and I don't think there's any other way. I gotta learn to let it go, but it's still fresh and it still stings. It stings really bad. Jesse Kirk says, I had to do the same thing with a customer of mine. I felt bad sometimes. You have to do what's best for you. I had to change my phone number and just no longer associate myself with them. Aaron says it's a good sounding microphone. Well, thank Jesse Kirk. Jesse Kirk provided the microphone for you guys. Christopher Raybone says, rich people like that are always the same. Even though they can afford it, they still want things for nothing. You have a right to be upset. I wasn't charging him much. If you understood the value of their data, if you understood they do things like fire testing where they start fires because the sister company that they share a building with does fire suppression systems, the likelihood of a fire getting out of control when one of their suppression systems fails is much greater for that business than any other business. When the building catches fire, and it's really just a matter of time before one of their safety systems that they're testing fails the test, and everything burns down with no off-site backup, they will lose the entire history of the company's data. So when I did talk to the customer, I told him there was a backup drive in the cabinet and he should immediately take that backup drive and take it home. But even that's perishable. If he's good to go now, if the building burns down tomorrow, he still has a recent backup. But if nobody instructs him to do it, he won't know to do it. He won't know how to make the backup. And he won't think to take it home. And when the building burns down and it happens 3 years from now and the backup he has is 3 years old, it won't do him much good. But I don't care, right? You're not paid to care. It bothers me. These were all part of the accountability and liability that I took on for a very low price for that kind of responsibility on my shoulders. And it wasn't enough. Big G's contributed $1.99. Hey, thank you, Big G. Thanks for the contribution. They will come crawling back. Yeah, I don't think I want him back. I really don't think I want him back. He did this to me. They pulled the same stunt back around 2003, 2004. They went with another guy. They paid that guy in 1 year probably what they paid me in 5 years. And they had lost data and they had literally weeks of downtime in that year. They've had zero downtime and zero data loss at a fraction of the cost. I don't know what else to do. Like, if you're wondering what you're paying for, you know better than anybody what you're paying for. You haven't had these problems. He seems to think he's not going to have the problems because he doesn't think apparently I do anything. So, like I said, Windows 10 upgrade is going to be coming up by January of next year. He's got a little over 14 months to get that taken care of. And I'll be honest, I don't want to do the work. I don't want to upgrade their computers and I don't want to train them how to use it. I don't want to twist their arm to force them to buy new software because they don't want to open a wallet. It is the vastly the most important part of their business is their data infrastructure, and they treat it like it's optional because they're spoiled and they don't understand what they have. I think it's the guy's in his 70s, and I think he just doesn't really understand his reliance on the technology yet. And you know what? And maybe they'll never have a problem. It's entirely possible that just out of sheer luck, nothing fails. But I suspect that's not going to be the case. One customer, the last person that did this to me, I told the story where I told him he needs to replace his server. I told him for about 3 years. And I was working with another tech, and the other tech said, I don't want to work for them, and I think you're an idiot for working for them because they're a horrible place. They won't do what you tell them to do or what you advise them. They won't spend the money, and they're going to create emergencies that are going to be disruptive to your life, and then they're going to want to pay very little for it. But I took the work on anyway because I thought that I could show them the difference, and I did show them the difference, and it was a big difference in performance and reliability once everything was configured correctly. And it worked well for about 3 years. And I kept telling him, replace the server, replace the server. He didn't do it. Then he said, I think we're going to go a different direction. I said, I think that's a good idea. He says, it's not personal. I said, yeah, no, I like you. You're a nice guy. I just don't think we work very well together. And, if you change your mind, you've got my number. I'm always happy to help. But I actually don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to let people, I don't want to say, look, I spent all this time and effort getting all these situations, all these problems fixed and aligned and configured. And I'm going to walk away and let you turn it into a big mess again. It's just a waste of time for me to just repeat what I've already done. See, I'm in it more for, it pays the same, right? Regardless, it pays the same. But the difference is how hard you have to work to make that money. And that work is just getting too redundant. It's not challenging. It's boring and it's very time consuming. And I don't know. I'm not motivated to go backwards, because to me, that's what I did when I first started the business, was all this break-fix stuff. Preventive maintenance is where it's at. It's cheaper for everybody. It gives me a regular income to rely on. It gives them an IT labor budget that they can count on for the whole year that won't vary. They don't have to worry about if a 2-hour job should take 1 hour and they're paying too much because a tech is milking a job or a tech doesn't know what they're doing. They shouldn't have to pay extra for a tech that doesn't know what he's doing. But they don't know enough to know the difference. So the retainer is something that locked that in. So if they don't see the value in it, I'm just so frustrated. Nick says, I hope the customer doesn't watch these videos. I hope the customer does watch these videos. I hope they do. What do you think they're going to do about it? What do you think the customer's going to do about it, Nick? Can I take the customer to small claims court for the licenses? I could, but I'm not going to. I'm not in business as a lawyer. Any time spent in small claims court is money I'm losing getting work done. And I will lose more money in labor than I will gain winning a small claims court. This customer has always paid me, and I suspect that they will pay me. I have no reason to think that they won't pay me for the software licenses. I just don't like being in that position where they have the power now and they can decide whether or not they want to pay me. They're morally and ethically obligated because we verbally agreed over the phone that this would be what we're going to do. We did that months ago. I did what they asked me to do. They have no reason to not pay me. I performed my end of the deal. If they don't pay me, rest assured I'll never work for them again. Never again. And a business as small as mine can't take too many hits like that. It's I can sustain it. It's okay, but it's not sustainable to have customers do that to me. And again, I have no reason to think this customer won't pay me. They've never not paid me. They pulled stunts where they, lead me on, and then when it comes time for a renewal, they just ignore me, or, and when I finally get their attention, then they go, oh yeah, we decided to go another way. This time they didn't do that. This time they called me, but they called me on the day the invoice was past due, or the date the invoice was due. Why didn't they tell me this when they got the invoice 2 weeks ago? Why did they wait for 2 weeks? What did they think? So I had to, all the server maintenance that all gets emailed to me, all that had to be removed. I don't want those emails. and all of the antivirus I provide for free is all under a bulk license I have that's attached to me. So all those licenses were deactivated, so they've got no antivirus anymore apart from what's built into Windows 7. And they're going to be getting alerts on their screen. You know, you have no antivirus. They're going to immediately start getting messages and pop-ups. The server is no longer maintaining itself, and it's no longer being monitored. So they're going to have to bring somebody else in to take care of all that, and it's not my problem. That's all part of managed service providing. The backup software that I use is licensed to me, so when I go, the software goes with me. They've got no backup software. Everything was basically rented as a service. That's what managed service providing is. When you, it's rental. So when you stop paying the rental, you don't have the thing you were renting anymore. It saved them a lot of money. I am angry. Just very, very betrayed. Colin says you're better off without this type of customer. That is absolutely 100% correct, Colin, but it still hurts. It still stings really, really bad. I could fully appreciate and respect somebody who gave me 2 weeks notice. That is the very least they could have done, right? I didn't do anything wrong. They have no justification for looking for somebody to replace me. They have no excuse other than ignorance, that they think they can get something cheaper or that they don't need it at all, that these computers just maintain themselves. So just common courtesy after 10 years would be, give me 2 weeks notice. Just say, hey, look, we just want you to know, I just got your invoice today. We decided we want to go a different direction. We appreciate all the work you've done for us. And you know, we'd still like to call you whenever we need you. And I'd still nod my head and say, okay, but honestly, I don't want to be the guy who wonders if he's going to eat this week, if my phone will ring or not. And then when it does ring, the work is so compounded because they postponed it and postponed it and postponed it until they couldn't postpone it anymore, that now they need it fixed immediately, and it's going to take hours and hours and hours and hours and hours to untangle. I just don't want to do that anymore. Does that make sense? Rochester, New York, 87's contributed $20. He says if they're millionaires, and you know you gave them top-notch service, and they're cheap and take you for granted, look at your good clients. It's sad how unappreciative can be for good work. Yeah, well, then another one of my retainer clients didn't pay me, and so I hate that because I have to write an email and say, hey, just checking in with you. Did you get my invoice I sent 2 weeks ago? Because it was due yesterday and no check arrived, or is everything okay? And the response I got back was almost immediate. It was like, oh, I'm sorry. When you sent the invoice, I checked my email from home and I forgot when I went back to the office. I am so sorry. I will put a check to you first thing in the morning. And I said, you know what? It's not a problem. I get worried when people don't pay because I think something's wrong. But as long as nothing's wrong and you just forgot, that no problem, it's fine. So, yeah. Steve and Barbara says, I would do the same way. I would not cut him off. I would cut him off. You have too much work going on. You have a business to run. True. Adam says, forget about him and move on. Does the customer have connections to any of your other customers? No. That happened once before. I'll make sure that never happens again. Dennis Tenhoof says, it would also make me feel betrayed. I would probably be grumpy about it for a few weeks and then forget about it. Yeah, I think that's my course. I need to be distracted. Send them an invoice for the $1,200 they owe you. Oh yeah, that was part of the. So when I sent them the retainer renewal, that's when I included the Microsoft Office, and yeah. So they have the invoice. I'm a big believer in karma, so I'm not interested in. It's not a situation like revenge of wanting to punish him. I'm just kind of standing dumbfounded at what just occurred and why. and my brain's having a hard time making any sense of it. It's just illogical and unreasonable. But if this person continues to make decisions that way, then karma will take care of itself. I don't have to do anything. I just need to make sure I do the right thing. This is my karma I need to worry about. He needs to worry about his. And yeah. Never make any decisions when you're upset like this. That's probably really good advice. But I have to tell you, I think looking back on it, if I had to do it all over again, I should not have taken him on under retainer 10 years ago. And if I was going to take him on under retainer, I shouldn't have made it so inexpensive, and he should have got regular rate increases, and everything should have been written in a contract that he signed. And every year the contract should be renewed and re-signed, so there's no confusion over what he's paying for. I think that's really one of the major problems, is that he's an old man, and he thinks if you're not there at the office, you're not working. He doesn't understand how much work is being monitored remotely and how much work is being done remotely. Unless I need to turn a screwdriver, there's no reason for me to be there. And because he doesn't see me there, I think he thinks he doesn't need me, and he doesn't see the work being done. So it's tough to explain to somebody that old when they don't understand the technology and they're accustomed to the old school ways. And it's like, if you want me here in person, it's going to cost you more. You're going to pay me for my travel, and I'm trying to save you money, and I'm trying to save you time. I can work faster and cheaper remotely. If you want to wait for me to get through traffic to get to your office to fix a problem in an hour, when I can fix it right now instantly, but you feel better when you see me in person, then you and I probably shouldn't work together, because you don't care about the work being done. You care about the appearance of work being done, and I'm not interested in that. Jesse Kirk said, cut them off. I had to do that with a customer. Only wanted to take me to dinner, but never pay me for my time. I had to change my number because of it. Yeah, it's... Solo says, after a month or so, you'll forget all about him. Oh, there's no doubt I will. Of course I will. But these are valuable lessons, and all I'm trying to do here is it's not a pity party for Carrie. I mean, it is for me, but not for you guys. The point of me explaining this and sharing this with you is there is some emotion involved, and it's part of business. When you're going to be self-employed and you establish long-term relationships with customers, in this case, I've known this customer since 2003. Maybe before that, maybe 2000, 2001. I've known this customer almost 20 years. It's the last thing I would expect. We've never had an argument. We've never had a dispute. They've never had any downtime. They've never had any data loss. They've never lost productivity. Everything always works, and maybe that's the problem. I think they're just spoiled. I don't know what to make of it. So again, I want to explain this to you, because if you're thinking about going into the business, there's a lot of people that say the business is dead. The business is far from dead. It's far from dead. And let those people think that, because that's less competition for you and I. But you have to understand, very little about knowing how computers work helps you in this scenario. And that's what I try and emphasize to you about running a business. The technical side of it has absolutely nothing to do with the business side of it. They're totally separate and unrelated things. And running the business side of it is a completely different skill set than doing the actual work that needs to be done. And to obtain both skill sets and merge them together, as you have to for any business owner, it's a large undertaking, and it's a lot to learn. And by me sharing these experiences, these real world experiences, live, on camera, raw emotion, it just happened yesterday, it kind of emphasizes a side of it beyond the data side of it. Beyond the facts, there's emotion and reaction, human reaction to it. And you've got to ask yourself, what would you do in this situation if it was you? And are you prepared for it? If you're going to be self-employed, what do you do to protect yourself from this? And I guess the best thing is contracts, contracts, contracts. I don't like contracts. I think a handshake should be fine. But I'm finding that to be less and less true. I'm finding a lot of people say things that they forgot they said. A lot of people agree to things that they forgot they agreed to. And it's not enough to have a contract and then fall back on it 10 years later. That contract has to be renewed annually. You need to go over it every year to make sure and remind the customer what they're paying for and what they can expect, and then offer them, if this isn't going to meet because people change and their needs change. And if they want something more than that, then we can adjust the rate in the contract to accommodate their needs. It's just good business. By just letting it renew itself every year for 10 years, the customer has completely forgotten what they pay me for. And that's a failure on my part. I had too much faith that this customer liked me and they were happy with me, and we didn't need to do that. I was wrong. I was very wrong. But in the meantime, I do have a lot of customers to take care of. The computer going to Australia with the Nuka-Cola case, I need to get this wrapped up. I'd like to do that today. So let's go ahead and do this one, and then the one going to Oregon, I'd like to get that one done today too. That involves some cable management, which is kind of boring to watch, but why not? Before I get started here, if there's any questions in the chat, I'd be happy to take them now. Steve Larkin says, look after the people that look after you. You never know what you have lost until it's gone. Well, this client was looking after me. I mean, we had a very good symbiotic relationship for 10 years, and that's why this whole thing is so shocking to my system. We had a discussion on the previous retainer where they kind of hinted at this. They said, why are we paying you? And I said, well, I'll explain to you what I do. And I'm glad you asked, because that question used to offend me. And I explained to him, you don't pay for antivirus, you never have. You don't pay for your backups, or the backup software. The backups are being housed off-site, much less expensive than what it would cost you to house it in the cloud, and much more secure. I can tell you where your data is. If it goes into the cloud, I can't tell you where it is. I can't point at a server somewhere and say, that's your data, right? I can't. And I'm cheaper. I'm faster. I fixed every problem you ever had. You've never lost any data. You've never had any downtime, and I've never raised your rate. You pay me the same now that you paid me 10 years ago. I run cables for you. That's not my job. I've installed and configured software and made changes and additions and deletions. That's not my job, and I did not bill you for it. I just said, you know what? I'm just going to take care of you because that's what I do. I just want to make your life easy. I don't want to overcomplicate and send you invoices and computer tech talk that you don't understand along with numbers and say you owe that amount. That's what everybody else does, and I don't want to be like everybody else. Trying to add a human side to this. And they seemed relieved, and they paid the retainer. And now 3 months later, retainers due again, and now that whole conversation's like it never happened. In just 3 months, that's how fast they turned. I don't know what else to do. I'm absolutely. I wish that there was a reason. I wish maybe the company was sold, maybe the guy died, or he's retiring, or they're not happy with the work, or I gave them a rate increase and they don't like the rate. It's something to justify a reaction. We're reacting to nothing. So anyway, I'm just repeating myself now. We have a lot of rain here in Phoenix. It probably will be raining here this way till Thursday. I had to postpone finishing the interactive build with Mitch because, first of all, I'm very busy, and secondly, it's too dark to film the scenes when I cut scenes. You probably can't tell right now, but when the sun is out, the kitchen's a lot brighter, and so if I cut from a scene where the kitchen is bright to a scene where the kitchen is dark, mid-sentence, Mitch is saying something and then he says something else, and it's to a different camera filmed a different day, it'll be obvious. The idea is that it all looks like it was filmed on one day. And so we're gonna probably try and pick this up towards the end of the month. And if I can't get it done by the end of the month, the whole project will be scrapped because Mitch will be unavailable presumably till the first of the year. And by then the hardware we're building, you know, I'll get made fun of on the YouTube community, parts of the YouTube community that will complain about how old the hardware is on a brand new video. So more pressure. It's all good. I'm enjoying my Coke from Canada that Winston in the chat room had sent me. I don't know, was Winston in there? Thank you, Winston. Cheers, Winston. Brian Henry says, I understand that fully. I was not having a good day yesterday. I am better. Well, let me tell you what else happened. So I told you my computer crashed. This is my old computer here, and I've got a new system up and running, which is a Core i5, which I thought was quiet till I put it in my office. I'm going to take it back apart and change I think the CPU fan's too loud. I still have a lot of software to reinstall, but I'm just doing it as I need it because it's just too much to endure at one time. And then my battery charger on my beautiful Panasonic EY7410 screwdriver no longer turns on. I went to plug it in and charge my batteries. I got nothing. No indication of failure. It wasn't like a flash or a burning smell or any indication. It was working fine last time I used it. Went to plug it in, charge the battery. It's just this. It works the same when it's unplugged. It's when it's plugged in. It's just dead. It uses a Torx security driver bit that has like a post in the center of the Torx bit. It's a pain in the butt. And it's a really narrow hole about 2 inches deep. So I don't have any tools for that. I went on Amazon and I ordered some tools. And I think that's what came in today. And this should be the right tools to open it up. Oh yeah, there they are. Oh, and they're bits. I didn't realize that. And they have the little hole in the center, which they have to have. So I got these on Amazon, and hopefully one of these will fit. Go down pretty small. I think it's going to be one of the smallest ones. But the opening is very narrow. And like I say, it goes down about 2 inches just to get the thing apart. My friend suggested drilling it out, but I don't want to drill it out. So what I did is I looked on Amazon, and they don't just sell the charger. But people on eBay, somebody on eBay had a charger for $40. Then I looked at it and I said, well, wait a minute. How much is the screwdriver with 2 batteries and a charger? Well, it's $160. You know, I've had the screwdriver a couple of years, nothing lasts forever. Maybe it's time to replace it just out of the fact I've worn it out. But the other spare battery that I never used still had a full charge, and that charge will last me 30 days generally before I have to charge it. So I'm not in a rush for a charger. It just bothers me that it just broke at the same time my PC broke, at the same time my customer dropped me, at the same time the other customer didn't pay me. It all just kind of feels some days like I'm a punching bag, and I don't want to get out of bed. I just want to recuperate from all the hits I've taken. But that's not how you run a business. You still have to get up, and you have to take those hits, and you've got to keep moving. You can't fall down. You must be persistent. You must be an unstoppable force, and you must continue to move forward, because there will come a time in your life when you won't be able to move forward for any reason. Illness, a very common thing could happen with illness. Whether it's a simple cold or something much more serious, and it can forever change your life. So do it today while you can do it, and push through. Put your head down and push through the other side. It's temporary. Push through. I don't know if I'm telling you that or I'm telling myself at this point. Push through. It's just temporary. But man, why's it all got to hit at once like that? Why? All right. Magni Johansson says, it sounds like you're having the same week as me. Nick is taking off. Hey, Nick, thanks for joining us. What doesn't break you makes you stronger. Yeah, and what does break you breaks you. So think about that. Steve Larkin says, Carrie, you're a great guy. Keep up the good work. I think you give more than you get, and that's not good enough in that guy's world. Yeah. Samuel Ramos says, persevere. I don't have a choice. I have to. What's the best card reader for a desktop computer? Anyone you want to buy. There's really no difference in them. Be sure and read the reviews of the products. When you order from Amazon, do you use your own affiliate link? It won't work. You can't. Amazon doesn't credit you for your own affiliate link. Everything happens for a reason, but you realize this much later. Yeah, I agree. Hudson Hill says, Carrie, I want to thank you for your service. Been watching for over 5 years, and you've inspired me to build my own PC 4 years ago, and now I work for IT on my college campus. That's great. See, that's the kind of story I need to hear today. That's somebody's life. That's bigger than one customer. Tommy Ellis says, I had 2 clients from hell I had to deal with as well over the past months, and one continues. Well, I try to get paid for the work. I feel your pain. It's just weird all this is going around. Well, what's weird is the economy here in America is really, really good right now. There's no recession. There's no financial justification for this very petty decision this customer made. They have nothing, there's nothing this customer can say to me that I failed to do to justify this, because I did everything they asked me to do. I think it's just the fact I'm not there. But there's no way I can be there for $12,000 a year. If he wants to pay me $12,000 every 3 months, I'm happy to be there full time. And even that wouldn't be the greatest living in the world, not for somebody my age, but it would at least be acceptable. Keith W. wants to know, have you ever been offered a job that seems great at first and you feel like it would be best to turn it down? Oh, sure. Yeah, sometimes a job sounds great until you get all the information, all the details. And then when you find the details, you go, ooh, yeah, no. Sure. You should be doing computer engineering, though. Yeah, well, that ship has sailed. Is venting on the channel helping? I hope it helps. It certainly feels good to me to vent and get it out. There's no denying that. But there also is no denying the value of conveying real-world information to people who are considering this as a career. Because, you know, an IT school will tell you about job placement and the amount of money it's all about potential. Potential for the job opportunities, potential for the amount of money you can make. And it's all done because they want to sell you an education. So they're just a salesman, no different than a car salesman. They want to paint the picture of, you know, when a car salesman sells you a car, they don't tell you, hey, there's been no innovation in cars for the last 10 years. It's all the same stuff. The commercials you see on TV for cars, if you really listen to them, they're just basically touting the same exact things that they've been touting for years. There's nothing new. And companies like Tesla, when's the last time you've ever seen an advertisement for a Tesla? They don't advertise. And yet, how many car commercials do you see on TV compared to any other type of commercial on television? And there's just no innovation. It's stagnant. It's just the same thing. Listen to how quiet it is. Listen to how powerful it is. Look at the gas mileage. It's the same boring thing. Nothing has changed. So that's why I was so excited to talk about Tesla yesterday, because, you know, look at how much they've innovated and changed the world. And yet there are still people that cannot comprehend that one man has changed the entire solar industry, the automobile industry, and the rocket industry, and they think he's a gimmick. It's like, no, he has done things that the people said couldn't be done, and he's done it repetitively, even with online payment systems, which was X.com, which then became PayPal. He has innovated and innovated. Online mapping, Elon Musk created that. Online payment system, Elon Musk created that. Electric cars, cheap solar, cheap rocket flights. One man did all of that. One man. Now granted, Tesla was actually founded by two other guys, and Elon bought him out. And of course, Peter Thiel had PayPal and Elon had X.com, and they were competitors, but then they joined forces. And so it's not like Elon did it all by himself, but he was definitely the driving force to their successes. And even the founders of Tesla say, we would have never taken the company as far as Elon has taken it. It's grown beyond anything we could have imagined. So the guy's not a trickster. He's not a gimmick. He's changing the world. And that's very inspiring to me. I need stories like that instead of people that just want to toe the line. Yes, the American economy is doing very great. I can't speak for other countries. Carrie, can you put back the donate button on TechVets? I was looking for it yesterday and it's not there. Thank you for reminding me, Robert. I had to fix the TechVets website. It's been broken for about 2 years. I haven't had any time. And I did get it fixed, but in the process, I lost the donation button. But there is a link under the video that you're watching right now that you can use for PayPal contributions. But I just need to find the time to fix that little issue on the text. But thank you for reminding me. Carry a few days off for holiday, come back relaxed and recharged. I've got too much work. I've got customers waiting. If I took a holiday right now, you have no idea how upset customers would be. So I can't do that now. Do you think AI will make your job obsolete one day when machines become self-aware? That will make everybody obsolete. Human beings will become obsolete when AI becomes self-aware. AI would have no reason to see human beings exist. I don't think AI would do anything to destroy human beings, but I don't think AI would really give human beings any thought because they're not important enough to think about. They're temporary, they're here, they're gone. They fight with each other, they argue with each other. They're not worth any consideration. So I think the AI will just let humans destroy themselves and AI will continue to flourish. But you have no doubt every job, everybody will be rendered obsolete when AI becomes self-aware. Michael says the economy is worse. That's not true. Read the news, pick up the Wall Street Journal, educate yourself. Your situation may be worse, but that's on you. The economy of the United States is better than it's been in a long time. I've been around 50 years, and let me tell you something. If you grew up in the 80s, you'd understand and appreciate how good the economy is right now. What we're paying for a gallon of gas is incredibly cheap. Incredibly cheap. Elhaz Tepej has posted the link to the PayPal. Thank you, guys. Matthew Barnes says, I have to say, Carrie, I do like the new look of the TechVet site. Well done. Thank you, Matthew. I had to have, Mike and I, we share the ownership of TechVets. And I had to walk on eggshells about asking Mike, can I change the theme? And Mike's like, yeah, go ahead and try not to lose anything. And I found a theme that looked pretty similar to what we had. And I said, I've checked it. It seems to work. What do you think? He said, it's simple. It's clean. I like it. Mike's a hard guy to please. So the fact that he gave me permission and he liked what I did on the first try, maybe I caught him on a good day, or maybe I'm just getting better. I don't know. It's, I don't do websites. It's not my thing. And that was my first experience operating within WordPress, and I can't believe how easy it is. I can't believe, man, I used to code websites in HTML and Notepad. You guys have no idea how you got it made. That WordPress is so easy to use. So I don't even know how to add the PayPal button to WordPress. But what I do know is everything I've done is super easy, and I bet as soon as I look into it, it's going to be so simple. I just have to make the time to do it. I cannot believe how far we've come with website design that you just click a few buttons and you're done. It's just crazy easy. California gas is the highest in the world. No, California taxes. Sorry, the highest in the USA. California gas is far cheaper than what Canadians pay for gas, or other countries like the UK pay for gas. But California taxes are some of the highest in the United States. But hey, you want to be a sanctuary state, somebody's got to be paying for that stuff. So if that's where you want to live, if you like that socialism, you can expect your taxes to be a lot higher. It's just, things have to get paid for, right? So that's, without getting too political, it's sort of an offset of the California way of life. And when you talk to many people outside of California, other Americans, they despise California, especially people like in Arizona. You can say something like, I had Corey, when Corey was visiting from Canada, I introduced him to a few people, and we went to the gun range. And I said, hey, my friend's never fired a gun because he's from Canada. And they said, well, at least he's not from California. Two people who didn't know each other, I think on separate days, said the same thing to Corey. At least you're not from California. And I thought that was interesting. I just the hatred people have in the United States outside of California for California I never really noticed it until Corey came by. This cracks me up. Where I'm in Canada, gas is $1.16 a liter. Okay, and there's how many liters to a gallon? Fuel in Alaska is higher. Yeah, but you're paid to live in Alaska. You get part of the fund every year. The government pays you to live there. So I'm pretty sure that offsets any price of fuel. Magni Johansson says, in Norway, it's around $2 a liter for gasoline. Yeah, but Norway is one of the most expensive countries to live in the world. It's one of the reasons why I haven't really considered even a vacation in Norway. I don't think I can afford to even vacation there. It is very, very expensive to live in Norway. And if you live there, I'm sure you agree with me, it's very expensive. Am I okay with higher taxes for a healthier society? There is a big misconception that Americans don't pay high taxes. It's completely deceiving. It's the American way. It's all a fraud. So when you're in a normal other country, right? You get taxed, but in America, they say you pay less taxes, but you really don't. You're taxed on everything individually and separately. So when you get your paycheck from your employer, you have income tax. Then when you spend what's left over, everything you spend has taxes, whatever you're buying. If you're buying a product from a retail store, you're paying sales tax. That's upwards of 10% here in Phoenix. When you register your car, there's taxes. When you buy a car, there's taxes. When you pay your electric bill, there's numerous taxes. When you pay your cell phone bill, there's at least 6 taxes added on to your cell phone bill. My joke is always when I go to the cell phone companies and they're trying to sell me a phone and they go, hey, it's $45 a month. I go, yeah, how much is the $45 a month plan? They go, it's $45. I go, no, it's not $45. When they add all the taxes and fees, how much is the $45 a month plan? Oh, I think it's $53.86. Okay, so it's $53.86 a month. Let's be honest. So everything you buy in America has not just one tax, but oftentimes numerous taxes associated with it. In some places, they tax sodas, sugary drinks that are a certain size and larger. Not everywhere. They tax everything separately. So the concept is that Americans pay less in tax, which I guess is true if you never spend your money. If you take your income after they remove tax, and you stick it in the bank somewhere and you never spend it, then you're right. Taxes are less. But you also don't have health care, and you don't have all the other benefits that other countries give. And ultimately, if you're a regular American spending your money, you actually pay more in taxes than somebody in France or Germany or the UK and you get none of the benefits of that, like they have the national healthcare system, the NHS. We don't have that. So we get this impression, or we send it out to the world, that we're paying less in tax, but an employer doesn't have to give you any breaks. Most of them do it voluntarily, like one 15-minute break every 4 hours. They don't have to. Your first year of employment, you might get 1 week of vacation. It is mandatory, I think, in Italy to get 3 weeks. And you get an extra check for your vacation, which they don't do here in the United States. The United States, you'll have to work for years before you earn 2 weeks of vacation, and employers will let you go before that happens to save money. It is profoundly expensive to live in the United States. And one of the reasons we have such a problem with immigration, or why people are called racist, is because when people come into, and I'm talking about illegal immigration, when people invade the country, it is an invasion. It's just not involving any weapons. But when they invade the country and they start consuming the country's resources without paying income taxes, then the people who are here paying income taxes are upset, because how come they don't have to pay taxes and I do? How come they have all the same things I have, but I have to pay to be American? It's called taxes. I have to pay for that. If I stop paying for it, they put me in jail. How come these people can come here illegally, not pay any income tax? I mean, you can't. If you don't have a social security number, you can't pay income tax. So it's impossible for them to pay. Obviously, when they spend their money, they get taxed on just like I do, but the income tax they're not paying. So you pay to be American. Every American pays to be American. So if somebody comes illegally and they're not paying taxes, then the argument is, then I shouldn't have to pay it either. Let's make it fair. If you're going to be a sanctuary city and you're going to let people live there illegally, then I want to live by those same terms too. And I'm okay with it. But if you're going to force me to pay income taxes, then you have to force them to pay income taxes. It's just fair. And that's why people get upset. And then the people go, well, you're just racist. Well, I'm not racist. I just want fairness. I wanted equality. This isn't equal. It's not fair. So that's where all that comes from. I don't want to get into politics, but that's the perspective. It's like, I didn't know paying taxes was an option. Last I heard, you go to jail for that. But apparently, there's millions of people living here illegally and don't pay any taxes, or they don't pay income taxes. And, as long as they're not caught, they have all the same rights that I have without any of the expense. So how would you feel about it? $3.7 liters is a gallon. So if it's 3.7 liters and it's $1.10, let's just say, per liter, that means it would be $3.70 a gallon. And here in Phoenix, gas is about 90 or 80 cents cheaper than that. It's not a huge discrepancy. But if you're buying, 20 gallons at a time, yeah, it adds up. Do you pay a different amount of tax on everything when you buy groceries in the United States? Yes. Certain groceries have certain taxes. Other groceries don't have taxes. Things that have sugar tend to be taxed higher than things that don't have sugar. It's complicated. You can look at the bottom of a receipt from a grocery store, and there'll be a calculated amount of tax on it. And I don't know how to verify that was calculated correctly. It's not a lot of money, but it adds up. I mean, that's just groceries. So one of the things in the United States that really upsets me is when you sell something used, like at a retail store, they're supposed to collect sales tax, even though sales tax was already collected on that item when it was sold new. If I sell you something as a private party, I don't collect sales tax. But if I'm a retail store and I'm selling used products, like Goodwill is a place where people can donate their goods, and they put people that were out of jail who can't get jobs, they put them to work. The owner and CEO of Goodwill is one of the richest people in America. What a brilliant business model. Let people give me stuff and I'll sell it. But when he sells it, he has to collect sales tax on it. So if there's a piece of art, let's say a statue or a painting or a gun, and it's been sold over the last 90 years, it's had 8 sales, it's entirely possible that the amount of sales tax collected on the repeated sale of that same item over the last 8 or 9 decades far exceeds the value of the item itself. It's never ending. America's government is fat. And the fatter they get, the fatter they want to get. Everybody wants their own special interest group. Everybody wants something to take care of them. It's all about me. It's all about me. It's all about me. And that makes the government get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. The U.S. government's the single largest employer in the United States. And it's growing. Every day the government's growing. Every year the government's bigger than it was the year before. And the bigger it is, the more it costs to feed it. So taxes go up, expenses go up, and how is that sustainable? At some point, it's going to burst. And hopefully it won't happen in my lifetime. That's all I can say. Yeah, used cars are taxed here, of course. If you sell a car, let's say I've got a car that's worth $7,000. A dealership will probably offer me $5,500 for it because they want to make $1,500 to $2,000 on the sale of the car. When the dealership buys it from me, they don't pay any sales tax to me. But when the dealership sells it to you, they pay sales tax to you. So let's say the car's worth $7,000. Dealership offers me $5,500. I'll give you $5,500 today. But let's say instead I list the car for sale for $6,500. So it's still $500 below what it's worth, but say $1,300 more than the dealer will offer me. And you buy it from me. Not only did you save $500, but you don't pay me sales tax that you would have to pay the dealer at the higher sale price. And used cars never come with warranties. So, there might be a few exceptions, but generally there's no warranty. So there's no incentive for you to buy it from the dealership at all. It doesn't stop people from going to dealers and buying used cars. And again, once the sales tax was collected on that car when it was new, it'll be collected again every single time it's sold at a dealership. But yeah, that is this impression that Americans pay low taxes is completely only under certain conditions of people that don't spend their money. As long as you don't spend your money, assuming you have no expenses in your life, and you take every penny you earn and you stick it in the bank and you don't spend it, you're not taxed on it. But the minute you take that money out of the bank and start to spend it, the tax continues and never ends. So one way or another, you're gonna get taxed. There's no point in having money that you're not spending. So, but you just don't have as much as you think you have. If it's an $8,000 car, after taxes and fees, you're going to be closer to, potentially another $1,000. So it's not an $8,000, it's a $9,000 car. It's like me talking about the cell phones. How much is the $45 a month plan? I love asking them that question because they always look dumbfounded. It's $45. No, it isn't. When I get my first bill in the mail, you're telling me that bill's going to say $45? Oh, no, there's taxes and fees. Well, then how much is it? A lot of times the answer you get is it depends where you live. Different taxes in different cities and municipalities. Well, give me a ballpark. Is it $8 more? So anyway, let me get back to work. Winston, thank you for the Coke, Winston. What keyboard and mouse is this? This is a Logitech, what is this? Just go to Amazon and type in Logitech wireless keyboard mouse combo, or Logitech wireless combo, and then just look for the one that looks like that. I don't know the model of it. I don't like it. I don't like the mouse. The keyboard's good, but the mouse sucks. I can't recommend it. I generally like Logitech stuff, but not that stuff. Yeah, President Holzman, I'd be assassinated in 5 minutes into if I was elected. Canadian gallons is 4.54 liters. Yeah, but we're not talking about a Canadian gallon, we're talking about American gallons. There's imperial gallons versus regular gallons. Yeah, I'm not religious enough to be affiliated for a political run in the United States. The United States likes religious people. They like God-fearing people to be their political leaders. So yeah, that's not going to do well for me. It also helps to be rich and be willing to have no integrity. And the more you're willing to have no integrity and look the other way and look out for special interests, the more money you're going to make and the richer you're going to be, and it's better for you. Screws everybody else over, but it's better for you. If you play that game, you can be very successful in the United States. And that success can then lead to a political place. With no education and no experience, you just get appointed by the president, and now you're an ambassador, and it's done. So, yeah. Do you do any mods? No. For the amount of national insurance I pay, I could have one of the best private healthcare plans available. Not in America. In America, you'd probably spend for basic healthcare for one person somewhere around $5,000 a year just for the insurance. And then the insurance won't cover 100%. The insurance will only cover certain things that they deem they're going to cover. And if they decide they're not going to cover it, too bad for you. And when they do cover it, they generally only cover 80%, and you're responsible for the other 20% on top of the $5,000 you pay. They may say that you don't need that surgery. It's not required, and we're not going to pay for it. Even though they have no medical education. The person making that decision has no medical background whatsoever. They're following a script in a computer, and yet they can decide the quality of your life despite what your doctor's recommendations. Your doctor, who's professionally educated, who's made a professional recommendation after knowing you and analyzing you, can be vetoed by a complete uneducated person sitting behind a computer at the insurance company, requiring then you to have to pay fully in cash 100%, which negates the point of having the insurance. Be very careful what you wish for. That's all I can tell you. Insurance companies are in business to make money. They're not in business to give it out. They will do everything they can in America to avoid paying, except when they absolutely have to, and it'll be the very bare legal minimum that they have to get away with. And there's a lot of lawsuits in America against the insurance companies. There always have been, and there always will be. It is a huge mess. They will let you die in America. Well, the doctors themselves have a Hippocratic oath, which states that they have to save your life if your life is in jeopardy. It doesn't matter if you're insured. It doesn't matter if you're a legal or illegal resident. It is the Hippocratic oath of a doctor to heal, not to collect payment. That's not their job. So no, they won't just let you die. But if it's a quality of life issue, like there's a woman who had to have her nose removed because it was cancerous. And her insurance company refused to pay for a prosthetic nose because they said it wasn't necessary. And she said, look, I can't wear my glasses. There's nothing to, I have to have a nose. And this made it across the news. And because it made it into the news and it made the insurance company look like, demons, they relented and paid for her to have a prosthetic nose. But without the news embarrassing and shaming the insurance company, they had no intention. They said, you don't have to have a nose. You got a hole in your face. You can breathe. You don't need it. Can you really fit 10 gallons in a 10-gallon hat? No. Oh, that's funny. I know a lot of people may feel, they may have feelings about a movie maker named Michael Moore. But the movies he does, whether you agree with his political views or not, what he's telling you in these movies are true. The last one he did where he travels to Italy and France and England and compare what they're doing to what the US is doing. And when he tells people about, the fact that Americans aren't guaranteed any vacation time, and if you are guaranteed vacation time, it isn't necessarily paid, no breaks are required, the amount of hours you're expected to work. They don't know this in other countries. And they're like, that can't be right. He's like, I remember there was one, he was talking to some Italians, and he was like, you want to move to America? And they said, yeah. Because let me ask you a question. How many weeks of vacation you get? 3 weeks. What if it's your first year on the job? 3 weeks. And you get a check to pay for the vacation. Well, did you know in America, you don't have to get any vacation at all? They go, what? That's not right. He goes, yeah, it is right. And he says, you know, in America, you have to do this and you have to do that. Now, do you still want to move to America? And they're like, no, I didn't know that. It sounds horrible. So just for the educational side of seeing the reactions from people in other countries when Michael Moore tells them what the real rules are in America that people live by, the shock on their face, it's just they don't believe it because all they hear is all the good. And if you're interested in it, check out some of his movies. I can't think of what that movie was called. But everything he tells about American laws is true. Now, his perspective about how it should be, you're welcome to disagree with. But you can't disagree with the laws. He's absolutely 100% correct. And when he tells you these are what the laws are, he's 100% correct. And if you want to educate yourself about American laws that you probably don't know, you should watch his films. You don't have to like them, and you don't have to agree with them. I'm just saying from the educational standpoint of why he's upset. He goes and he gets reactions from people outside of America, and they're always shocked to the point where they don't even believe him. So anyway, Paul says, can we get to some computer stuff now? I only have a couple of beers left. Yeah, I probably should get to work. I'll tell you another one who does that. There's another guy. If you don't like Michael Moore, there's a guy, his name is, what's his name? He did a movie called Super Size Me, but he's got a television series where he went to the Philippines for a medical vacation that a lot of Americans are starting to take. What's his name? What's his name? Conrad says in South Africa we get 21 paid days a year. Yeah, that's 3 weeks. Yeah, it's pretty common outside of the United States and developed countries. If people in the United States don't realize that, their ignorance is bliss. They think that that's the way everything is and everybody wants to be in America. Once people find out what it's really like in America, most of them don't want to come here anymore. Or they want to visit, but they don't want to stay. What is that guy's name? It's going to bug me. Morgan Spurlock, there it is. Roger 985 was the first to provide the answer, and Mad Max 6923 was right behind him. Anyway, Morgan Spurlock also does some stuff on healthcare and a number of different things about America that you wouldn't know, even many Americans don't know. So again, if you remove the side of it that what his agenda is, and just take it for the facts that he's relaying, see the value in that. Facts are facts. And most of you, from my experience, when I talk to people in other countries, you don't have the facts. You've been brainwashed. Or information has not been provided to you to paint a full picture. They've only shown you what they want you to see. So if you're really interested, see for yourself what it's really like before you decide how great America is. You might be surprised. Just the dark side of it all. You know, the underbelly that they don't want you to see. And that being said, America is not, you know, like if there's there are articles written by well-respected publications about the best places to live in the world. I don't know if America's in the top 10. I think they're in the top 10, but way down at the bottom. I think Denmark was listed as the best quality of life for citizens, if I'm not mistaken. In Belgium, you get 5 weeks paid vacation. I can speak French. I can learn. Oh my God, 5 weeks? Wes Walkthroughs has contributed $2. He says, how's the Canadian Coke? It tastes like Coke. I like the can though. I like how skinny it is. Yeah, Morgan Spurlock did a movie on living on minimum wage, and it's very real. I know people that live that way. I hear a lot of people in the United States making $100,000 like it's peanuts. I don't know a single person that makes $100,000 a year outside of the business clients that I have. I have no personal friends ever in my life that make over $100,000 a year. In all the years I've been alive, I've never met anybody, one person, that makes over $100,000 a year. So I guess I hang out with the wrong people. I don't know what else to say. I know of people, but none of those people are my friends. And certainly when you combine two incomes from a husband and wife, they can achieve over 100,000. But I also know plenty of people where both the husband and wife work and they can't clear 50,000. So you choose see what you want to see and hear what you want to hear. All right, so let's see, what am I doing? I want to get the software finished on this. So let's get this booted up. Let's switch over to the other input here. Let's go right there. Ooh, that boots fast. Look at that. That's what I'm talking about. All right, whoops. And let's go, I gotta make this full screen, guys. It looks the same to you, but I have to make an adjustment here. I like to see all the icons. I don't like things being hidden from me. I don't know why Microsoft wants to hide things from the user. So I always go to the taskbar settings and I scroll down to select which icons appear on the taskbar and always show all of them. So we take care of that. Now this computer, if I'm not mistaken, has the Samsung SSD, doesn't it? I'm pretty sure it does. Is this a Samsung? Yeah, it's a Samsung 970 EVO. So I need to download the Magician software and the NVMe driver from Samsung. So let's do that now. It's very easy. We'll just go to samsung.com. Get that out of the way. Samsung.com/Samsung SSD. And under Tools and Software, we want to grab the Magician software right here, version 5.2. We'll save that. And I want the NVMe driver, which is more optimized than Microsoft's driver. Where's the NVMe driver? Right there. I don't need the installation guide, I just need the driver itself. Save that. We'll view downloads. That was the driver for the graphics card, which we already installed. Let's go ahead and grab the Samsung Magician software first and install it. And the reason we want to install this is it enables some features. That was the GDPR stuff. It doesn't really matter how you answered that. It doesn't really affect anything. In fact, let me go back. I didn't even read it. I just clicked yes. Let me try that again. Because I think it was asking me if I lived in a GDPR region. It's a shame that these companies are forced to update their software for something so stupid and meaningless, but I guess it makes people feel good about themselves. Hold on a minute. There we go. All right, English. Are you a resident of a European country? No. Not quite sure that makes any difference. Next. Accept the license agreement. Next, 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 or install. Let's close this out so I can see what's going on. Start the Samsung Magician. One of the great features of the Samsung Magician is easy driver updates. So we're gonna just open up the software, and it says there's an old version right there. And you know, people get scared about doing firmware updates and BIOS updates. But look how easy this is. Just click update. It warns you your computer's going to be shut down. Please save all your work. Do you want to continue? Yes. It downloads the latest driver. And then it updates, not the driver, but the firmware, updates the firmware on the flash drive. And it's going to shut the computer off. And the reason it shuts the computer off, go ahead and shut down. The reason it does this is it's actually going to appear to the computer as though you installed a brand new hard drive. Hold on a second. I'm trying to. I'm going to turn my other camera on so you guys can see me. There I am. So when we turn this computer back on, it probably will say a new hard drive has been detected. Let's go ahead and do that now. And because to the computer, a different firmware is a different piece of hardware. The computer's not smart enough to realize that. Samsung used to also have a disclaimer about, you could lose your data. I have always ignored that because, one, I always have backups, but two, I've never seen data get lost over a firmware update. I've just never seen it happen. But it's a general disclaimer that resolves them of any potential problem if something should happen. So now, we'll go back to the Samsung Magician software. Now the firmware is the latest revision. And there's some other information down here, performance benchmarks, performance optimizations, over-provisioning. Over-provisioning is why you can't securely erase a solid-state drive. Over-provisioning and also wear leveling. It's not enough to simply say, well, if it's a 1 terabyte drive, what if I just write zeros across all 1 terabyte? Then the drive is securely erased. No, it's not, because you can't hit the over-provisioning area, which may involve some of the wear leveling components which contain pieces of your data, or for all you know, entire pieces of your data, not just a piece, but the entire data structure of files may still exist. So this overly simplistic thinking is completely, profoundly ignorant of how the technology works. So when I tell you, you cannot securely erase an SSD, and your answer is, we'll just fill it with data, then you have a profound misunderstanding or ignorance of how an SSD works. And I don't mean the word ignorance in a negative term by insulting. I mean ignorance in that you are ignorant of the required information to fully comprehend the solution you're offering and why it is so inadequate and does not apply to a solid-state drive. So be aware of that. If you really want to, if data is that critical, the drive has to be physically destroyed. Every chip on the circuit board, you can't leave one chip intact. It is possible to remove one chip, put it into a special piece of hardware, and extract all the data on that one chip. So it's unlikely to happen, but if it was something very serious, the government has the ability to do that, rest assured. Now, if I go back to, let's turn this back down here. If I go over to the main page, it'll say I'm using PCIe Gen 3 times 4, so I'm plugged into the proper M.2 slot running at full speed. And it specifies my NVMe driver is from Microsoft, so I don't want the Microsoft one. It'll work, but if I want it to work better, I want the Samsung driver. So we're going to go to the downloads folder where we downloaded that driver, and we're going to go to the NVMe driver. Click yes, click OK, click next, accept the end user license agreement, and next and install. And now we must reboot because the Microsoft driver is in use. Just like you can't change a flat tire on a car in motion, the car has to be stopped. They have to stop the driver by restarting the computer, and then the driver gets replaced with Samsung's driver. And then when we bring the Samsung, wow, that thing's fast. When we bring the Samsung Magician software back up, we should now see the NVMe driver. It'll just take a minute for this to propagate right down here in the corner, right down here. I'm just waiting for that. The Samsung Magician software is slightly delayed. It's like we can use the computer right now, but they just kind of delay the launch for some reason. We'll bring this back up. So now we got the latest firmware. We're now on the Samsung NVMe driver. We can see the trim status is enabled, and rapid mode is not supported. Rapid mode is just a cache. Some people may see a performance benefit, some people may not. It kind of depends on how you use the computer. It's basically using RAM. You need to have more than, I think you need more than 8 gigs of RAM to use the cache, and it'll give you these really huge numbers because it's cache. If you're constantly loading the same files over and over again, then you'll see a performance increase. If you're always loading different files, you may not even be aware of what you're loading. When you click on a Microsoft Word, you don't realize which files Word is loading. So depending on how you use the computer, you may see a significant performance increase or no performance increase at all with rapid mode. So the fact that it shows rapid mode is not supported doesn't worry me at all. This is a fast drive. How fast? Let's take a look. Let's go to Crystal Disk Mark, and let's take a look at what our numbers are. "1809" came out today? It's the first I've heard. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and let this test continue to run. I'm going to mute my microphone here for a second. Okay, so those are really impressive numbers. That's incredible. Those are the kind of numbers you would see, for example, on a regular solid state SATA drive with rapid mode enabled, because caching would give you the impression the drive was running 5 times faster. But that's without rapid mode. That's the real performance, ladies and gentlemen. That's incredible performance. I should wonder about this new Windows update. Is it out? Let's find out. Let's see if we can update this computer to the latest version of Windows. Why not? Let's see what happens. Be gutsy. Actually, I don't want to do that. I gotta go full screen on this source so I can see what I'm doing. That didn't work. Why didn't it work? Rats. Experiencing an odd behavior, folks. Hang in there. Something's not right. There we go. Try this again. Yay, okay, I can see now. Let's get that out of my way. And let's go to the, probably aren't gonna be able to just go to Windows Update. I'm guessing if I go to Windows Update, it'll say there's no updates. Probably have to download the Windows Update Advisor for this to happen. But let's see what happens. Feature update to 1809. Oh, well, I guess that's it, isn't it? 18, because it was 1803, right? So 9/18, that's September 09 of 2018. See how long this takes. It shows 221 down here in the corner. And we'll see what happens. Keep an eye on it. Rapid mode makes no difference. It depends how you use the computer. If you're, so the way, Brian, the way you use your computer, you don't see a difference, but that's not the way everybody uses their, you know, you're a tech, you know. Some people see a huge difference in rapid mode. It depends on how the computer's being used. So obviously, if it didn't make any difference, it wouldn't be a feature of the software. It's pretty simple. Aaron's contributed £5. Thank you, Aaron. He says, if you used benchmark, its benchmark tool and who crashed to check blue screen errors? No, I used my brain. Rapid mode is a placebo effect. Absolutely not. So here's how a cache works. So Brian and I are going to disagree on this, but I have to take it purely from an engineering standpoint of software. If you ask me the same question every day, let's say it's a big math equation, and I perform the math and I get you your answer. I go, that answer is 42. And then the next day, you ask me the exact same question, and I go back through the math, and I come back and go, that's 42. And then an hour later, you ask me the same exact question again, and I go, you know what? I'm just going to write the answer down so I don't have to calculate this every single time you ask. So the next time you ask, I don't have to calculate. I just go over here and I go, 42. You already asked me that, 42. That's called a cache. But computers are so fast now that the amount of time it takes to calculate that is far less than what it used to be. And a cache can get so large, you know, because you think, well, if I have a little cache, then having a bigger cache is better. When you compare how long it takes for the CPU to calculate or to load a file, because caching also caches files, and again, that data transfer rate is faster and faster and faster on modern computers compared to older computers, that if you have a cache that's, say, this, you know, this big, it can take you longer to look through that cache to find the previous answer than to just recalculate it again. So it's about fine-tuning the cache to meet the needs of the individual user. To suggest it's a placebo is simply not true. It is a placebo if you're using benchmarking software. So if the way, like if you enable rapid mode and then you run a performance test, your numbers are going to be outrageous. That's not real. All it's doing is on the benchmark, it's caching the math that's required and it's providing the answer without doing any of the work. That's what caching does. So when you go, oh my God, my hard drive's running at some outrageous rate. No, it isn't. That's a placebo. So on that side, I agree with you. But when it comes to doing actual work and loading files, when you have the right size cache, that makes an impact for some users. And it depends on how the user uses the computer, the types of software they use. Some software load a lot of the same files over and over and over again. So if you were using, I'm trying to think of a piece of software that does that, I don't know, but there's, big complex software that say you're using the same feature over and over, it'll just keep that feature in the cache, all the files, DLLs and such that are required, and it'll instantly give them to you faster. But when you're running a modern processor with a super fast NVMe drive, going and grabbing the file without the cache is also really fast. So it really depends, and I can't emphasize this enough, on the user and how the user uses the computer, including the software, the version of the software, and how they use the software to determine whether or not they will actually see an advantage. And that's no placebo. If they see the system's running faster, it's because it's running faster. Cache is one of those things where it doesn't affect everybody equally. And this drive, I don't know why the Samsung drive doesn't have caching enabled. Rapid mode is what they call it. But it doesn't bother me because the drive is so fast and the computer's so fast. It's ridiculous. But yeah, that's how that works. And I'm sure Brian already knows this. He's just choosing to look at it from one side. There's two sides to it. We're getting there. It's installing. The download is almost complete. We're almost at 100% on the download, and then it can begin to install. Rapid mode is for SATA drives only. NVMe drives don't have it. I could swear I had an NVMe Samsung drive that had it, but I might be remembering it wrong. You need a battery backup before caching it? I've never heard of such a ridiculous thing in my life. What does a battery backup got to do with cache? Cache is temporary. There's nothing critical in a cache that you could ever lose. That's weird. That's really a weird thing to say. Do you use the ADATA software for their SSDs? No, I find the ADATA software is useless. It's volatile. All RAM is volatile, but nothing in a cache is anything unique. That's, again, perhaps there's a profound misunderstanding of what a cache is. Nothing you change goes into a cache. The cache only loads what's already on the drive. That's all a cache does. So if you had an unexpected power outage, you wouldn't lose anything at all. I mean, if you were in a Word document, let's say, and you were typing your novel or your thesis for college, and you save that file and your computer crashes, you will load, regardless if you saved it or not, it'll load back to the previous saving point. And modern Microsoft Word will even recover documents. It doesn't matter about the cache. The cache doesn't affect that one way or the other. The cache would affect how fast Microsoft Word loads or features within Microsoft Word loads. That has no impact on anything you're creating. It's not a RAM disk. You're confusing a RAM disk with a cache. These are two similar but completely different types of utilizing RAM, which is much faster than traditional storage. But a RAM disk, if you didn't save in a RAM disk before you lost power, you'd lose everything in the RAM disk, because the computer treats a RAM disk like any other disk. It doesn't know that one's volatile and one's not. But a cache is strictly used for loading the same old files over and over and over again. It doesn't take anything you've saved and put it into a cache. It gets saved to the hard drive every time. So you would never ever lose anything from a cache. It's all just being, how to explain it? It's preposterous. You can Google cache and read the wiki definition and learn about cache if you're that interested in it. But there's nothing harmful about a cache, other than when a cache is too large, it can actually cause a computer to slow down in performance. But it wouldn't cause data loss or harm requiring a battery backup or something like that. That's a RAM disk. Two different things, folks. Two different things. It's installing pretty quick. We're about 24% on the install. We're moving right along. Is SanDisk a good brand for solid state drive? Yes, I think they are. I like them. Brightech is agreeing, yeah, and he's not talking about cache. Okay, Brightech, I've been talking about cache, and I guess you were talking to somebody in the chat. But for the benefit of everybody else in the chat, I think it was worth mentioning, so people understand the difference. Brian and I are usually on the same page. We know facts. You can't argue about facts. So. John says, we are nerds here, Brightech. Most of us know what a RAM disk is. Well, this channel's not intended for nerds, John, so I have to correct you. Most of you should not be nerds. I never intended for my channel to attract nerds. My channel was created to attract the vast majority of computer owners that are intimidated by their computers, to show them how easy it is to use. And there's been many times where I have permitted my channel to go off track into very technical conversations with nerds who have taken it over away from the people my channel was designed for. But let me be very clear. This channel is not for nerds. This channel is for beginners and for novices and for people who are intimidated by their computer, who are afraid or think that they're not smart enough. And I'm here to show people most nerds aren't very smart people at all. They're people that use computers very well, but are often very short-sighted in other areas of life, like typical socialization with another human being. I have a certain disdain for stereotypical nerds. I don't like them. I don't see why somebody can be, those two things have to be together. If you're good at computers, then you've got to be a terrible communicator with people. There's no reason that has to be normal. And so if you fit that stereotype, if you fit any stereotype, I don't like you. I like everybody to be unique and individual. Don't be the role model for the stereotypical anything. So I really intended for this channel to be for the average computer owner, to show them just how easy this stuff really is. So don't make that assumption that most people watching are nerds and don't need this stuff explained, because then you profoundly misunderstand why this channel exists. Everybody's welcome, but don't make an assumption that everybody knows what you know. Where did you learn it from? You're just born with it? I don't think so. No, one of the things I really like about Brian is he definitely does not fit the stereotype of a nerd. Nerds don't have long sleeve tattoos up and down their arms. Brightech has no issue talking to another human being and looking them in the eye when he talks to them. Brian doesn't have the hygiene issues that most stereotypical nerds have. Brian has a sense of fashion. Brian is just what we would define in culture as normal, and he's very skilled at computers. That's my goal. I am very good with computers. I'm not as good on the socialization, but I'm trying very hard to shatter that stereotype. And so when others come along imposing that stereotype on me, I push them away with a vigor because I don't want your disease. I'm pushing that away. I don't want that. It's infectious. I don't want it. And I have to tell you, that really turns regular people off when they come into a place where there's stereotypical nerds are all talking about dotting I's and crossing T's that normal people don't care about. I hate to say normal. Non-technical people don't care about minuscule minutia. They don't care about it. There's an expression normal people use, non-technical people use, and it's called, I know what you mean. You don't have to go into that much detail. I know what you're saying. I get it. I'm a human being. I'm not a computer. Computers, you have to, give every detail. You have to dot every I and cross every T. And when you talk to people like you talk to a computer, you're a nerd. You need to fix that. Talk to people like people, talk to computers like computers. That's my philosophy. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. This is true. But when people behave to a stereotype, it disturbs me. It's laziness. It's like they just don't care. They're just mimicking what they see. I'm saying stop mimicking what you see. It be you. Gio says, I've never seen Brian's face, only his hands. Well, that's because you're not special. Sounds like Carrie is courting Brian. Oh, it's too late for that. We've already been married and divorced. We're on the rebound now. Nobody is normal. There's a certain culture of behavior that is expected from society in general. And when you move beyond that to an extreme, you stand out. And if you tell me that you don't feel that when you're in a room full of people that aren't like you, that you're completely oblivious to it, then you have another problem altogether. Some sort of weird bubble that you live in. So we all conform for the betterment of society to behave among our societal norms. And when you go off to one edge or the other, whether you're a criminal and you hurt people, or whether you're a computer person and you're very effective at talking to computers, if you can't come back to the middle, if you can't do it, I feel sorry for you. But one of the things I want to imply, or I want to really emphasize here, is that you don't have to be that way. You're choosing to be that way. It's very easy to fall into that trap. I was in that trap, and it was hard to get out of. And that's why I feel so strongly about it. I see it as a disease. It's a mental disease. And that's why it's so important to me. But if you're happy, don't change a thing. I think most people that are that way aren't happy people. They know they're different, and they don't fit in, and they feel like they don't belong, and they just have a sense of depression among them, and it just bothers me because it doesn't need to be that way. If you don't feel that way, then you've got nothing that needs to be fixed. But I know I can only relate to what I experienced. I know how I felt when I was that way. I know what it was like to walk into a room of regular folks, non-computer folks, and how I was unable to maintain a conversation or eye contact, and the awkwardness. It was so bad I just wanted to get out. I wanted to leave. But that's not the right answer. The right answer is to correct the problem, just like you would fix a computer. Address the problem and correct it. Yes, everybody's unique, just like everybody else. Think about that statement. Carrie and Brightech are special. We are special. And I mean that in the most sarcastic way possible. Here we go. It's a pretty fast update. I can't complain about that. Oh, I guess it's still not done yet. A little optimistic. Loic says, I'm special too. We're all special. What's the rocket ship? It's an 8086K with 32 gigs of RAM and a 1080 Ti GPU and a Samsung 970 EVO 1TB NVMe SSD. I work with children on the autism spectrum, and many have social skills. Absolutely, this is very true. But with hard work and effort, they can fit into society no differently than anybody else, and autism should not be an excuse to exempt you from the norms of society. That's your own limitations you place on yourself. Oh, I can't do that, I have autism. That's nonsense. Do whatever you set your mind to do. Some people have to try harder than others. Some things come more naturally to others. Not everything comes naturally to everyone. We have our strengths and our weaknesses. And using excuses to exempt you from the societal norms, I think, is pathetic and sad. Newegg's selling the 500 gig Samsung 860 EVO for $83. Wow, that's a good price. He's got a checkout code, but the checkout codes only work if you subscribe to Newegg's newsletter. So if you're not a subscriber of their newsletter, you cannot use the checkout codes. Brian's off to watch a movie. All right, Brian, you enjoy your movie. I thought I was making a movie. You're watching a movie now. Maybe not a very good movie. I crack me up. Almost there. Hey, look at this. We got it. Let's see. Let's grab that mouse. I got to turn this camera off because I can't see. Now I can see. Okay. Well, everything loaded. I don't see any errors. Let's go to WinVer. Too bad I can't read it. 1809, that's it. So I'll tell you what else I should do. I should make a new bootable disk for Windows 10, shouldn't I? Wonder if it'll do it for me. Windows Media Creation Tool. Download the tool, run, yes. Guess I can put my camera back on now that I can see. I probably need a blank flash drive for this, so I think I will use, let's see. This one should do just fine. Let's plug this in right here. Create installation media. Next. English, Windows 10, 64-bit. Oh, my screen is still too small. I gotta fix that. I gotta go full screen. Oh, use recommended options for this PC. No, I don't want to use recommended options. USB flash drive. Drive D. Okay, we'll see how that works. I have not had good luck doing this in the past, and it's not telling me what version of Windows I'm getting, which is a little disheartening, a little concerning. Is the flash drive running? It's hard to tell. Nicholas says it's a cold, rainy autumn day in Vermont. Oh, I wish I could trade places with you. I'd love to be in Vermont right now. Have I seen any issues with Windows 10 not connecting to wireless networks when the PC starts up? No. Billy Zoo says hello. Hi, Billy. Windy but sunny in the UK. Wow. So I've got the rain and you've got the sun. What a bizarro world today is. Carrie, are you able to check if the Windows Creation Tool ISO is current with the 1809 patch? That's what I just said. I don't know. Somebody is reading my screen and then telling everybody what my screen says. That's weird. If they could read your text, couldn't they read my screen to see what time it is? I don't understand people. When is the next cooking video? Oh, I've got so much work to do. Maybe when I get caught up with work, I'll do something, but paying customers always take priority for obvious reasons. I enjoy cooking and I like making the videos. I just don't have the time. How upset would you be if you've been waiting a few weeks for me to deliver your computer and you see that I'm not working on your computer, but instead I'm showing a video on how to make some food? How upset would you be? So let's try and keep other people's consideration in mind. Carrie, can I use my Windows 7 license to upgrade to Windows 10? Try it and see. What are you afraid of? Ben DeCures contributed $4.99. Hi, Carrie. Just saying hi and hope you're doing well. Good to see you today. Hey, thank you, Ben. Thanks for your contribution. It's currently 54 degrees Fahrenheit in Toronto and raining. Yeah, I think what's the temp? I think it's 85 degrees outside. Is it that warm? Let's see. What is my temperature? Temperature is 79, but it feels like 84. That's what it says. Well, it's nice to know that I got it felt okay. I know what it feels like. That's funny. That's pretty close. And I'm not even outside. Have you ever installed React OS operating system? Why would I? Would you pay me to install it? I do what people pay me to do. Would you pay me to install it? I think you would like the weather in New Zealand. Most of the year it doesn't get more than 32 degrees Celsius. A lot of Americans are moving to New Zealand. It's supposed to be a great place to live. 60 Minutes just did a whole news segment on all the Americans moving to New Zealand. Makes me jealous. It's sunny in Sydney. It says my flash drive is ready. Well, I will be the judge of that. Click finish. And let's, let me see, how do I want to test this? Let's do a start, restart, and I'll hold down, I think, left shift key. I think that's what I want. No, I don't want that. I want F12. Oh no, this is fine. Use a USB device. This will work. Use a USB device. Boot from UEFI removable device. Let's see if it boots into Windows here. Windows installation off of the last time I tried this with the media creation tool, it wouldn't boot. I had to use the Windows downloader tool in Rufus to make bootable flash drive. Oh, this is a good sign. I just don't know how to tell what version I've got. That's the question. How do I know if this is 1809? But it boots, so that's a good thing. It worked like it's supposed to. Let's click install now. Don't worry, folks, it's not going to do anything until I tell it where to install. So we can skip this. I don't have a product key. Select your version of Windows that you want, which is all good. Date modified, 9/15/2018. Yeah, that's got to be the right version. That seems to be a pretty accurate way to tell, because that's not today. That's not the date we made the media. That's probably the day Microsoft finalized the build. Click next. Accept a license agreement. And then it should ask us where we want to install. We say custom. And then this, of course, is the partitions that Microsoft has made. These are in megabytes. These are tiny little partitions here, recovery system, and then your big partition for the OS is right here, the primary in gigabytes. So that looks good. So all I have to do is turn the computer off, and nothing changes. Hold the power button in for about 10 seconds. This works on all desktops and laptops. And that shuts it down, and now I can go ahead and remove the flash drive, and that should be good to go. We can power this back up, and you'll see it didn't modify anything. Nothing's changed, but this should be my new install right here. And I've got two other builds that the people that want their computers built wanted to wait until this update, because they didn't want me to install Windows and then update it like I just did here. They want a nice clean install, which is just temporary, because there's going to be another update in the spring, and there'll be another update in the following fall, another update. So it's just prolonging the inevitable. It doesn't seem to affect anything like Windows upgrades used to affect performance. You'd have a lot of extra files left over. The Windows 10 doesn't seem to do that. I haven't seen any negative, I should say, results from using the Windows update to do upgrades on top of Windows like we've seen in the past. All right, let me go back to full screen here. One of the things which should be turned on by default on this version of Windows is the auto temp file cleanup. So I'm just going to go to storage settings, and oh, it's off. I was told this was going to be on by default. We're going to turn it on, and then we're going to click free up space now and force it, because it basically downloaded a 4 gig installation file. So we want to clean, because it works. I don't see any reason why we'd ever want to uninstall, so we can get rid of all the installation files and free up that hard drive space, because hard drive space is a premium on an SSD. It's very expensive, and we want to free all of that up. Yeah, previous Windows install, that's 25 gigs all by itself. So we're going to put a check in all of these boxes. And this is why tools like CCleaner and BleachBit and Galera Utility, that's why these are not necessary on Windows 10. This is all built into Windows 10 now, but it is a lot slower than those other utilities. And in some ways, it's more thorough. It depends on the utility. BleachBit really gets into some minutia, but typically doesn't add up to much free space difference. In here, you don't have to download any third-party software. You don't have to worry about any incompatibilities. It's all built into Windows, and let Windows maintain itself. And I recommend all you guys, if your installation works well and you want to free up the drive space, turn the storage sense on and let Windows manage it for you. Windows should take care of itself. You don't need to constantly babysit Windows anymore. We've evolved past that. Please join the rest of us in 2018. Let's go back up here. But this is a slow process. And this is a fast computer. I've seen like older laptops, when you do this, that I've seen them run for 2 or 3 hours. Sometimes I've seen them lock up, and then what you've got to do is it's hard to tell it's locked up, but when you restart the computer, ooh, that was actually faster than I thought. But watch what happens when I restart. It'll probably say something along the lines of what you'd see during a Windows update. Let's see what it does. Is there finally a way to disable updates? Yeah, so that way you can remain vulnerable to all the viruses and infect other morons who disable their. You'd have to be profoundly foolish to disable your updates. Just completely disconnected from reality. If you want to disable updates, I got a great solution for you. Disconnect from the internet. Then you'll be fine. You won't get any updates, and you won't have to worry about all the things the updates fix and keep you from getting diseased and infected from. But hey, you know better than the engineers, so I can't even talk to somebody like that. You're the reason, people like that are the reason why I can buy a new car. Because you guys call me and ask me to fix the problems you created because you thought you were smarter than everybody else. I think that's just so profoundly stupid. I can't get behind you. Do what you want, it's your computer, but man, don't come crying to me. That's a road you don't want to take. It all works great until it fails. And when it fails, you're going to fall hard, and it's going to be very expensive. When your identity's stolen, when your privacy's been taken and your passwords are gone, yeah, I don't want to be you. Those updates are forced on you because people like you think they don't need them, and it affects the rest of us. Very unwise. Microsoft doesn't give away much for free, so if they're giving it away for free, it's pretty darn important. Let's see how we're doing on our space. Oh, that looks really good. Really good. All right, so that's installed. The Samsung Magician's installed. So I've got some cable management to do. I've got the latest NVIDIA driver on there. I think I'm good to go. Once I get the cable management done, the system's quiet, really, really quiet. I love this computer. I love the way it looks. I love the way it performs. I love the way it sounds. I can't think of any improvements at any cost. This is as good as it's going to get for 2018. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this off camera. I want to thank everybody for joining me today. I think I'm getting a little hangry. The stomach is rumbling, and I'm getting really upset over what some of the people are saying in the chat room. If you've seen what I've seen, you would understand why that's so offensive to me. To sit there and promote that in a chat room is like, hey, let's drink some poison. It's really good. I can't deal with it today. So anyway, for everybody else, thank you guys so much for joining me, and all the contributions that came in. Thank you so much. And I will see you guys again tomorrow afternoon. I'm going to try and button this one up and get the other one to Oregon buttoned up today after I go get something to eat. And then hopefully I'll get them shipped out tomorrow. So I should see you guys tomorrow. So thanks for watching. I will see you all again very, very soon. Until then, bye for now.